Good evening, everyone. Folks, if everyone can start taking your seats, we're going to get the program started. Welcome. My name is Shelly Lewis, and I am president of the League of Women Voters of Geauga. And on behalf of our entire board, we want to welcome you. Thank you for being here. Gentlemen, folks, if we can all take a seat. Marla, could you go ahead and hold us? Thank you so much. We're going to open our program with the Pledge of Allegiance. So all who are able, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thanks so much. So our mission is to empower voters and defend democracy. So we're especially pleased to see so many of you here tonight who are all looking to get more information about the candidates and the issues that you're going to see on the November ballot. So to get this started, we need to thank a lot of people. First off, we want to thank the school district for helping us set this up, for providing the meeting space where we can all gather. I didn't bring a copy of my voter guide, but I see several of them floating around. If someone could raise one, we have some extra copies in the back there. But our voter guide is prepared by the Chagrin Valley Times at no cost. And they do that as a service to the public and distributed through the Chagrin Valley Times, the Geauga Times Courier, and your local Good News. So we want to thank them for their continuing partnership to bring good information to the voters. Those voter guides are also distributed through your local public libraries. All the Geauga branches have them, as well as the Burton branch. A small army of people worked on pulling this event together. So our league members, they're floating around. If you see them, please thank them. This is a volunteer organization, and so everybody's here because they believe in the mission, not because of the big paycheck that they're getting. So the last group that I want to thank, obviously, are the candidates and the spokespeople who are here to, provide information about the levies. You don't have to be here, so we appreciate that you're choosing to participate so that you have an opportunity to share your ideas directly to voters. So thank you all for being here. Okay, so this event is being live streamed from the middle. Marla is taking care of that. It's being live streamed. It will be presented on our YouTube channel, and there will be links on social media to help you access that, I guess, after the event. Okay, so I'm going to go over the rules. Just make clear, our event is not a debate. You will not see candidates going back and forth at each other. This is a forum. So we've invited candidates here, and yes, I see you back there. Disappointment. He's like, I don't know, go at it with someone. The job of the candidate here is to relay their ideas to you, the voters. So, in all of their discussions, everything should be directed toward you. We do not distinguish between incumbents and challengers. We treat all of our candidates the same. We feel like they should be on the same foot coming in. This forum is subject to our revised empty chair policy. And just a brief explanation of that, these are local races. And because they are all local races, our local league has jurisdiction over them. And so whatever policy we have applies. And our membership made a decision in June to adopt a policy where if we have a contested race and only one candidate chooses to participate, we're going to let that candidate fully participate. In the past, we were using the state's policy. And under their policy, if you did not have more than one person appearing, you couldn't present the race. So next spring and in the fall, when we have some state General Assembly races, the state policy will apply. So you may see different outcomes. But for local races, all of our county races, and obviously all of these school board races, trustee and council races, our policy applies. So if there's just one candidate appearing, we'll put them on. Okay, how this is going to work. Our voter guide is based on questions that we as a league ask. When we get to the candidate forums, we really want the questions here to come from the community. We want this forum to be a reflection of what your concerns are. And so we've been gathering questions online through our question portal and this table in the back. You can also submit questions up to the beginning of a race. Our questions are measured against a published criteria. They are reviewed by our panel behind me here, who examine them for compliance with the criteria and to ensure that we have good variety of questions that are free of bias. So that's the objective of our question process. Don't hold your questions, okay? It's got to get through our some folks in the back who are going to serve as runners. Just hold your card up, and one of our runners will come and get it and deliver it to the screening panel. All right, so groups of candidates for each race will be invited up to our tables. We ask that you sit behind the name tent that I'll be putting out for you. One at a time, they will give a 3-minute presentation about themselves. And once they've completed that and are reseated, our moderator will present questions to all of the candidates. They will each have 1 minute to respond. Okay, we wanted to let you know that after the event, we've invited the candidates to stick around. At that time, they will be free to pass out campaign materials. You can, ask them any questions that didn't get resolved to your liking. We ask that all of that take place after the event. More information, obviously our print voter guide, and I always recommend vote411.org. It's the league's online voter guide. It's also a portal that has lots of information about registering to vote, your different voting options, sort of a one-stop shop for voting. Okay, that's it for all the boring stuff. Now we get to move on to the interesting things. I'm going to turn this program over to our moderator, Meg Hawkins, who is the vice president of our board. Welcome, Meg.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to welcome up Richard Carreno, who's going to speak about our public health levy for the county. And while he's making his way up here, I'll give you an overview of tonight's schedule that's up on the screen. We're going to deal with 2 levies first, then the Russell Township trustee race, the Munson levies, then the Munson Township trustee race, the Newberry levy, the Newberry Township trustee race, the Chester Township levy, and finally the West G Board of Education. As you can see, we have a very full agenda. So our timer, right in the front here at the table with the white tablecloth, she will be holding up a timer for our candidates and speakers, and the times will be strictly enforced so that we can make sure everyone has time to speak and we're not here till midnight. All right, Richard, I will hand it over to you.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm here to talk about issue 23, the Geauga County Health District levy. And before I get started, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event, as well as the West School System. So issue 23 is a renewal levy. It's 0.2 mil, which is the lowest price levy on the November ballot. It equates to about $5 per 100,000 valuation. So if your house is worth about $400,000, it costs you about $20 per year. It's not a tax increase. Like I said, it is a renewal, and it's a 5-year levy. It brings in approximately $653,000 a year at 100% collection. The levy amount is about 18% of the annual revenue for the department. The health district is not part of the county budget and receives its funding from grants, licensing, and permitting fees, as well as this levy. The health district provides a variety of services, including tracking vital health statistics, conducting animal bite investigations to prevent the spread of rabies. They also perform commercial and household sewage system inspections, as well as plumbing, restaurant, school, and well inspections. A good example of this is when we just had the Geauga County Fair. The department was tasked for inspecting all those food trucks to make sure that they were all in compliance. The health district works with the Department of Emergency Services and other state and local agencies to coordinate emergency preparedness and responses. An important note to keep in mind is Geauga County is consistently one of the healthiest counties in the state, normally ranking either number 1 or number 2. With that being said, I urge you to please support the health levy issue 23 for November 7th. Thank you.
All right, we had no questions for Mr. Perino. So now we'll be moving on to the Geauga County Mental Health Renewal Levy. And speaking regarding that is Christine Lacomiak.
Thank you, I appreciate. Sorry. Did you start me already? Oh, thanks. Okay. Thank you, I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to talk to you about issue 7. I'm Christine Lacomiak, Executive Director of the Geauga County Board of Mental Health and Recovery Services, and we're asking for your support on issue 22, a levy that's been supported by Geauga County residents for 34 years. This is a 0.7 mil, it's a renewal levy, it's not a new tax, and it's about $19 per $100,000 for a period of 5 years. Mental health and recovery services boards are established under the Ohio Revised Code 340, and we're charged with planning, funding, monitoring, and evaluating behavioral health and substance use disorder treatment. And the way that we're able to do this is to provide funding to agencies that are in Geauga County who serve Geauga County residents. Services that are provided by this funding include both mental health and substance use disorder treatment and prevention for all ages. Some of the services that I'm talking about are clinical services, including psychiatry, case management, counseling, inpatient hospitalization, substance use disorder treatment, residential treatment, and recovery housing. We have support groups and services for family and friends who are grieving the loss of a loved one because of suicide or an overdose. We have support groups for trauma response services and debriefing for our community when tragic events happen here, including debriefing for our first responders and frontline staff who selflessly assume the role of lifesaver every day in Geauga County. We help support the CIT training, crisis intervention training for first responders. It's a 40-hour class for the first responders. And we have multiple outpatient clinical and supportive services to keep individuals in the community, because we know the best treatment options are when we have local solutions and when people can stay at home for care. We partner with multiple systems, including foster care courts and the justice services, and the services, the agencies that receive the funding, some of them include Family Pride, Red Tulip, Lake Geauga Recovery Centers, NAMI, Women's Safe, the Lost Team, and Ravenwood Health, to name a few. Please know that there are services available and that treatment works. And if you're struggling or if you know someone who's struggling, please reach out for treatment. You can call the COPE line or 988 and get linked with services. So that's really the most important thing that I want you to know is that don't struggle alone. People recover, treatment works, and just please reach out for help. Thank you.
Sorry about the slideshow, I had one job. We're gonna move on now to the Russell Township trustee race. So if the candidates would like to step forward, we generally like to have folks in alphabetical order. So we'll welcome up to the front Philip Corpora, Christina Port, and Sharon Takash. Takash, I got it.
We're gonna need to just take a 1-minute break because I think it's valuable for everybody to have access to the visual. So we're gonna try to log in. Sorry for the inconvenience. As for waiting, if you like what you see and would like us to have better technology equipment, you can always donate to the League of Women Voters. As our president said, we are an all-volunteer organization, so we do this because we believe in the mission. We're live streaming on our own, and we want to bring this to as many people as possible. We're back.
As I said, I had one job. All right, I'm gonna welcome Philip Corpora up for his 3-minute introductory speech. You see our timekeeper right in front of you.
Thank you for this opportunity to address you and introduce myself. My name is Phil Capora. I'm running for Russell Township trustee. For more than 35 years, I've worked hard to serve Russell Township as a volunteer and part-time firefighter, paramedic, and lieutenant in the fire department. I've worked on the Beecher Fire Department since 1999 and been a ship captain since 2010. I've been around long enough and have knowledge, skills, and experience to be a good public servant and an effective trustee. I can recognize when taxpayer dollars aren't being spent wisely. I've seen it for too long, which is why I'm passionate about entering this race and to serve this community in another meaningful way. My parents instilled in me values such as honesty, hard work, and the importance of spending money wisely and using it to build with, and not to waste it on frivolous endeavors. Whether you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent, we can all agree that we want to live in a safe community with top-notch services, good schools, and trustees that are good stewards of public funds. That will make sure our safety forces are always on the cutting edge of serving the needs of our community. My commitment to you, if you'd like me to be Russell Township trustee, is to work tirelessly to make Russell Township a pioneer of innovative services that benefit our community without needless spending. My family, friends, and neighbors from Hemlock Hills can attest, I'm not afraid of hard work or getting my hands dirty to accomplish a goal. Most politicians give vague statements and ideas with no intention of following through. I'm not a politician. In my profession, I'm forced to make decisions on emergency scenes without relying on studies or consultants. Good leaders do their own research, use life experiences and common sense to come to conclusions that are beneficial and cost effective. Our goal should be to improve the lives of our residents. I'm running for trustee to refocus our priorities on helping the residents. I want to create programs to help our seniors age in place and make our safety forces more proactive in preventing emergencies. I want to be realistic about capital improvement projects. I'll use common sense to allocate taxpayer dollars to plan, design, and actually complete building projects. I think it's shameful to waste the hard-earned money of our residents. Thank you for listening, and if you agree, we do a better job of taking care of our residents while judiciously spending taxpayer dollars, please vote for it.
Thank you, Mr. Pecora. Christina Port, you may come up.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Christina Port. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for supporting this forum, as well as West Geauga for extending the venue for this event. I serve as a current trustee for Russell Township. I have 8 years of experience, and I'd love to be reelected, and I'm humbly asking for your vote. I see that there are residents here within this venue right now that are residents of Russell, and all I can say is, let's keep Russell safe and a place you love to call your home. And how is that done? As a trustee, you have to make decisions at our executive level. You're presented with an agenda. You have to prepare for the materials that are presented to make good decisions. And that is all done with not only the help of the township personnel, but also with input from the community residents. So you need to have input from community members as to what's on their mind. And I have also learned that in my wisdom as getting older is you need to have mindfulness. You have to be an active listener. And you can't have all the answers. You have to rely on others to help you along the way. In an executive decisions as a trustee, we're over the fire, police, road, and fiscal, and the facilities areas, as well as we appoint zoning commission and board of appeals people. What I like to do is look at what the fiscal budget is for the year, and we do have workshops for that to go over what are the capital expenses, what are the needs of the department, not wants, but needs. What are the needs of the department, and are we gonna have enough money to pay for this? And I've sat in the hot seat for 3 times in the last 3 years going over with the budget commission to go and make my case about how we have to have fiscal responsibility and get our budgets passed for the following year. We also have liaison commission appointments, so we work with partnerships with soil and water, et cetera. So those are some of the things that we do. But the biggest thing of all is that I work for you. I live here, I pay taxes, I look where the money's going, and I'm not gonna be sitting there saying, this is okay. I just wanna make sure that you understand I work for you, and I'm only as effective as a leader if I can hear what your concerns are and try to get a resolution to your needs. And I humbly ask for your vote on November 7th.
Sharon Takach.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sharon Hatch. I spent over 25 years teaching at Kent State University, the little baby campus in Burton, Ohio. Before that, I was in the Washington DC Beltway. 5 of those years were at the Army Research Institute, where I tried to develop programs to train soldiers how to do things, how to teach a Marine, how to read a map, something like that. The ARI is the largest collection of psychologists in the United States. And when you hear psychologists, you think Fraser Crane, and that type of really stuff. I did research. So I would go into somewhere and find out what people needed. Measure if they're doing what their mission statement is. And if they're not, if their mission statement says this, and this is how they're performing, make those things closer together. And that's what I'd like to do for the township. So I worked in the federal government, I worked in academia, and I worked in the real world. And the real world is the one I like the least, because that is to make money. The other places are to help people. And that's what I like to do again. I retired a couple of years ago. I want to come back out now and use my skills. I don't have a particular issue, except we want, of course, large lot zoning. We don't want more development. It makes me crazy when I drive by that Circle K gas station on the corner over there. But I think what we need to do is ask the residents what they need. I found out just a couple days ago that people that have lived in this township for over 25 years don't know that there's a website for Russell or that there's a newsletter for Russell. The website has very little information on it, and I think the newsletter, I signed up for it once I finally discovered it, and that's got some good stuff in there that people should know, like when do you go for trick-or-treating, stuff like that. So I think we should ask people what they want. What are the issues that you care about? So I don't have a burning issue to build like a community hall or something like that. I think we should ask people what they want, and that's what we should give them. I think we should do something like a trustees forum once a year. We can come back here, in a year and then do this again. So I think we should be proactive. What do people want? Ask them, and then that's what you give them. And I'll be hanging out over there after we're all done here.
Thank you all for your statements. We have some questions that were submitted. And what I'll do is go down the line. Each of you will have a chance to answer, and you each get a minute, and you'll be timed accordingly. All right, so I'll start first with you, Mr. Kapora.
Meg, over here. Could you just please make sure that they have their microphones turned on?
Yes, make sure your microphones are turned on. I see 2 blue lights, and there's the third. Excellent. You may need to pull it a little towards you, so we make sure we can get your voice on the recording so everyone can hear you. Once the new community meeting center is built, what do you think should be done with the old town hall? Will you ask the public for input before making a decision? I'll start with you, Mr. Kapora.
First, let's see if it gets built. They still don't know the plans for it. They don't know the final cost, so there's only so much money allocated towards that building. I have plans that it doesn't, asking for residents' input on this. When I'm going out campaigning, a lot of people don't know we're trying to build a community center. And I think we should get more community input before we allocate $750,000 towards this building that might or might not be used.
Thank you. Ms. Porter, I'll repeat the question for you. Once the new community meeting center is built, what do you think should be done with the old town hall? Will you ask the public for input before making a decision?
Well, according to Ohio Revised Code, we are obligated to ask the public of our community what they want to have as a survey for any renovations to that town hall. So that's already built into the Ohio Revised Code. So that's a question that we will open up as a forum for residents to weigh in as to any improvements, any renovations, and then we will look at that to try to establish a budget. We can go and review what has been done for siding, roofing, things like that, so that we can determine if it's something that's already on our budget, our plan strategically to address issues in the future for that. But also, if there's a better use of that building, then we can also address that with the public.
Thank you. Mr. Koch, once the new community meeting center is built, what do you think should be done with the old town hall? Will you ask the public for input before making a decision?
Well, of course, I wouldn't ask the public what they want to do. I don't know that we need a new community town hall. I was just at the library before I came here, and I found out that there's a room there that'll hold 150 people. And this room can hold, I don't know how many, but I don't know that we need another building. I think we should repair and reuse and recycle. I'm sure the, what you call it, Inflation Reduction Act has money to fix up the windows and the insulation and stuff like that. That's in the town hall that's already over there. So of course, I would like to ask people for their input. I think we should send out a mailing kind of survey, maybe ask people for their email address or if they want to be on a text list, so that we could ask people what they want and if they really feel the need for a.
Thank you. I'm going to ask if you would pull your microphone a little closer to yourself so I can make sure that everyone hears what you have to say. All right, our next question, and I'll start with you, Ms. Ward. What, if anything, should be done to foster a sense of community in Russell Township?
Well, I think what needs to be done with fostering communication is active listening. And if you have to have a venue for how to communicate with people, right now we have the website, we have a newsletter. Some people use the next door kidsman to go and post things or have questions about issues that are local to our community. And I think that that could be totally enhanced with technology. I think that with the community room, we could have better services with addressing, like calling 211. 211 can get you in touch with different service agencies within the county if you need help. But just like a directory of how people, if they find a need, 911, 988 is for suicide prevention, but you just need to know that there's also other avenues you can explore. And we need to bolster we have our website that's going to be done.
Thank you. Mr. Koch, what, if anything, should be done to foster a sense of community in Russell Township?
The people have told me that they want to have a better sense of community here. I am fortunate enough to live in Hemlock Hills, and there are several gatherings, trick or treat kind of things, scary, walk in the woods, barbecues, things like that. And I think we should do that too. My son and his two wonderful children, they're both crazy about fire trucks. So the fire department where they live had an open house and the kids got to climb on fire trucks and stuff like that. So we could open the facilities that we have here so that parents learn about the facilities that we have, that people that have kids can meet other parents. We should have a picnic, 4th of July. We should have maybe fireworks on the square. We should have a Christmas carol thing on the square. Not the square, but the corner, 368-7, that's what we should have events.
Great, thank you. Mr. Kapora?
I agree. I think we should have block parties in neighborhoods. We have nice neighborhoods in our community where we can sponsor block parties. In Beechwood, where we're full-time, the city council actually bought block party trailers where they bring chairs and tables, and they actually sponsor. Fire department shows up, police department shows up, and interacts with the community. The open house with the fire department, police department, had the community come and meet the employees who work for the township work for them. I think it's important that they see where the tax dollars are being spent. And it'll be a venue for the trustees also interact with the community. So that's my suggestion, and more community involvement in the services.
Thank you. For this one, we'll start with you, Mr. Koch. How many township trustee or zoning meetings have you attended in the last 5 years?
None.
Okay. Mr. Kapura?
2.
Ms. Port?
Because I just went to the zoning meeting last week, and it was here.
It was how many township trustee or zoning meetings have you attended in the last 5 years?
Well, as a trustee, I think I had a few absences that were excused. But otherwise, I am at the table as a trustee, and then with zoning, we have a forum with the BCA and our zoning commission and the Geauga, where we all met together as trustees to go over what our plans are for zoning. So most, probably 95, 97%.
Okay. All right. We have one last question. And I will start with, let's see. I started with you. 1, 2, 3. Start with you again. Got to make sure I don't miss anybody. What do you feel are the most pressing issues in Russell Township that need attention?
The spending on architect fees and consultants, nothing gets done. I think we can rein in on the spending of buildings that never get built. We spent $60,000 on plans for storage building that never got built. That money is just wasted. I think we need to rein that spending in.
All right, Ms. Port. Sure. What do you feel are the most pressing issues in Russell Township that need attention?
Well, I would say that number one is that I think that people are concerned about property taxes and what the cost is going to be to stay in their home with this reevaluation. Is this something that is going to impact their lifestyle, what they can do to support themselves in their homes? And then also from a township point of view is how do we look at that impact and then look at our services that we're providing for fire, police, and road and facilities so that we can scale everything according to what we need to ensure that the community is still safe, that the services are provided, and yet the residents can still stay in their homes. And I think that that's very important.
All right, Mr. Koch, what do you feel are the most pressing issues in Russell Township that need attention?
I would first like to correct my earlier answer. I did go to a whole bunch of zoning meetings because I like, again, that Circle K on the corner there. I went to a lot of those meetings. I think that we are doing well right now. We have a really good safety record. The police and fire departments are doing an excellent job. So we want to maintain what we're doing right now. But I don't know what people would like to do. I am on Nextdoor and I hear a lot of people complain about different kinds of things. For example, fireworks. When it's not the 4th of July. Of course, we're the July, gotta do that, but it's not, you're not allowed to do fireworks, and people's dogs have panic attacks. So if that really bothers people, we can take care of that. We want this community to be a nice, quiet, peaceful, safe place for people to live. And there are little things that irritate them. Those are the kind of things that I think we should take care of.
All right, thank you. I'd like to thank all 3 of you for your thoughtful presentations and answers to our questions. Another issue that voters will be facing at the when they vote this season is levies for Munson Township. There are 2. There is a streets, roads, and bridges levy, It is 0.95 mil additional, and it would be collecting $264,000 annually, amounting to $33 for each $100,000 of property value. So continuing for 5 years and begins in 2024, first payable in 2025. Do we have anyone from Munson who will be speaking to that this evening? Okay. The next levy that will be happening and facing voters who vote in Munson Township is an 1.15 mils additional fire and EMS levy. It will be collecting $320,000 annually, amounting to $40 for each $100,000 of property value. It's a 5-year levy commencing in 2024, first payable in 2025. The next race we'll be considering is Munson Township Trustee. There are 2 candidates for one position, Glenn Kinter and Nate McDonald. This evening, we have Mr. Kinter with us, and you may take 3 minutes for your introduction.
Good evening. Thank you, West Geauga, and a special thank you to the League of Women Voters and certainly to all you for showing up tonight. I am Glenn Kinter, a former teacher and a candidate for the trustee seat in Munson Township. My wife and I have resided in Munson for 35 years. Munson was chosen as our home because of Munson's rural character and the fine schools. Our daughter, Erin, went to Munson Elementary School and graduated from Chardon High School. My volunteer experiences are numerous, many of which include serving on several different school and township committees. I helped organize the American Cancer Society's Relay for Life, hosted by the Sisters of Notre Dame, and I have volunteered in every way imaginable in the community. I am currently volunteering my time now as a member of our Munson Park and Recreation Board. Munson residents, in a few days, you'll be receiving a postcard from the Friends of Munson. This postcard I mention only because I played a major role in getting that committee organized. I am an advocate for Munson, and I've always placed Munson first. I placed Munson first when I got involved in Munson's government after there were 8 accidents in 6 weeks at the intersection near where I reside. I went to meetings and demanded that something be done about one of the most dangerous intersections in the township. Over the past few years of attending our township meetings, I realized that our current government demands the development of a solid strategic plan. This means both a short-term and long-range plan. If you entrust me with 4 years as your representative, I will work on this goal, and I promise I will continue to place the needs of Munson first. I will keep Munson first in all my actions as your trustee and continue to strengthen all relationships. This is something I have been doing behind the scenes since last April. I want to keep Munson first and create a welcoming environment to all township meetings. I want residents to feel able to come and ask their questions and receive answers to those questions. I want Big Munson to be more user-friendly. I want to keep Munson first and enact and fund Munson's road superintendent's 5-year and 10-year strategic plan. I want to keep Munson first and see that new trucks are acquired. My promise to you this evening is to always place Munson first and her safety first. If elected as your trustee, I would join Trustee Bushman and not take the annual health care package, which will save $35,000 a year in tax dollars. I will work for you and do my best to keep Munson first. It will be my focus to be accountable to you. This is all part of keeping Munson first. Thank you.
All right. enter, I won't have to worry about skipping anyone this time around, all
That's
right?
not good.
The first question that was presented for us, regarding Munson Fire Department, do you believe it is in the best interests of transparency that Munson Fire Department submit an itemized budget to township trustees and residents, or will you require only a bottom line figure?
I do believe that the fire department should develop a budget and be transparent as all departments.
All right. Next question. As a trustee, what would your recommendations be, if any, regarding large lot zoning?
My recommendation is that we should continue to preserve it, as was talked about the last big one first, is septic systems. Septic systems are imperative, and we're speaking with our health department person here tonight. I don't think any of us really comprehend the issues with septic systems and the state of disrepair that many homes have, where a house was built 60 or 100 years ago, and maybe same people have lived in it for 75 years, and it's not up to code. So.
All right, thank you. Last question. What do you feel are the most pressing issues in Munson Township that need attention?
First of all, our open meetings. I believe people should know what their government is doing. Second of all, I believe the two most important issues are the passing of the two levies. Both are imperative to our township. They're both, if you look at the numbers, the amount of money they generate for the low village, Munson is sitting pretty as far as our township road department and fire department.
All right, thank you. We appreciate your participation. All right, Newberry voters will be facing a levy for 2 mills, a renewal for streets, roads, and bridges, collecting $361,000 annually, amounting to $55 for each $100,000 of value. It's commencing in 2024 and first due in 2025. Next, we'll hear from candidates for the Newberry Township trustee position. There's one position and there are 3 candidates: Tim Charbat, David Lair Jr., and Louis Tomsek. All right, it appears we have one candidate here tonight, and you are Mr. Lair, am I correct? All right, step up and you may give your 3-minute introduction.
Good evening, and I want to thank the League of Women's Voters. My name is David Lear, and I'm running for Newberry Township Board of Trustees. The township has a budget of over $5 million annually, with a total resource 2023 by the county budget commissioners of nearly $7 million. That means the township is larger and more complex than a typical small business. I have over 25 years experience in management roles in large, complex, multi-million-dollar organizations, and will work to find solutions for Newberry Township to save taxpayer money and provide value to our citizens. My wife, Colleen, and I lived in Newberry for almost all our lives, as have our families. We both graduated from Newberry High School, and we have owned and built our home on Auburn Road in 1997, the same year we were married. We are proud parents of 2 grown sons, one currently beginning his junior year at Ohio University, and the other a recent graduate of Harvard College. People who run for the position of township trustee generally make a lot of promises, often not really understanding how a township works or what it is legally permitted to do. Here's what I promise to do. While there are a few actual tools in the township toolbox to attract new business, I will first insist that our Board of Trustees operate in a professional, business-like manner. I will make a point to introduce myself to our current business owners and seek their input as to what improvements they would like to see, while at the same time seeking the same input from any resident who wants to offer suggestions or ideas. I will be straight with the public and let them know what is actually possible for a township to do. I will make it a priority to understand the township budget from top to bottom. I will work with and support the fiscal officer to ensure Newbury's finances are always sound. I will understand the job of each township employee, ensure that they have the management tools and support to safely and efficiently do their job and effectively serve our residents. I will listen to you, the residents of Newbury, and ensure that each tax dollar we spend is spent wisely. My name is David Lear, and I'm a Newbury Township trustee, and I offer you years of real-world management experience and the ability to work with board members and the public in a professional manner, common sense, and a deep lifelong commitment to Newbury. I would be honored to serve you, and I ask for your vote on November 7th.
Right. We have a couple of questions for you this evening. Mr. Lair, as a trustee, how would you address current community space issues in Newbury Township, including space left vacant after the raising of the old Newbury High School?
Well, first,
Make sure you got that mic close.
I will try to get a sense from the community input, and try to get a feel for what they're looking at. And second, and most important, it all comes down to, at the end of the day, expense. We have so much, we only have so much tax dollars to use, so it will come down to that.
All right. Thank you. And then, what do you feel are the most pressing issues in Newbury Township that need attention?
Well, I feel the first issue is going to be staying within the budget. With the trustees and having a new fiscal officer next year, I think it's going to be key and important that we're all on the same page.
All right. Anything to add? All right. Thank you very much for participating this evening.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your thoughtful remarks and answers. All right. Next up, voters in Chester will consider the Chester Township tax levy, and I believe we have someone here to present on that. Craig Richter.
I was just going to talk about several things.
You can go right ahead.
Thank you. So, hi, for those who don't know me, I'm Craig Richter. I'm a current Chester Township trustee. The levies on the ballot for Chester Township are needed to provide continued operations for both Chester Fire and Chester Police Services. Said another way, these levies are to provide the same level of service that the township currently receives today. The fire service has 2 renewal levies on it. This means no tax increase to our residents. These 2 levies combined provide for over 75% of the current funding required to provide Chester Township with the critical life and property saving fire and EMS services. The police services has 1 new levy on the ballot, 1.5 mils. This will cost approximately $53 per $100,000 of house value. However, there will be an offset since the prior funding levy will either expire or be terminated, depending on some action taken by the County Budget Commission. This funding is necessary as our police services is facing a deficit sometime in early 2025, if not sooner, and technically without proper funding, the County Budget Commission can't place the police services into an fiscal emergency. So this means there will be a need for immediate staffing reductions in early 2024. Actions being taken by trustees is because the community has made it clear that how important these services are to the health and well-being of our residents and to maintain our property values. Also, the changes to our demographics has caused increased pressure on these vital services. We have seen increased volume in both police and fire and EMS calls. As we face this increased need for these services, our township struggles to hire and retain staffing levels for both police and fire. And our township is not unique to this issue. It seems every day there is news stories about how police and fire services are having difficulty in recruiting and retaining how the number of candidates entering police and fire services is on a sharp decline. Our community continues to recognize the value of our police and fire services and by renewing these levies over the years. So the board has also decided to ask that these levies be changed to continue. By guaranteeing funding for our services, we hope to provide stability to these departments and help in recruiting and retaining our employees. Also important is the cost that our township has to pay to put these levies on the ballot. And we feel that the money can be better spent by our police and fire departments. In addition, the time can be spent by our department leaders to focus on continuous improvement and operation excellence. So that covers all three. Sorry.
We actually have some questions for you. So if you would like to sit down, you may, and I will give you an opportunity to answer. So this question is specifically related to the 1.5 mil additional police and EMS levy. Since the stated mandated property taxes will go up due to property valuation adjustments, is there a need for an additional levy, or will the increase in revenue preclude the need for an additional levy?
So first of all, it's just for the 1.5 mil is just for the police services. So the increased valuation will only affect inside millage, and it will affect the new levy for the police. As stated, the police are currently facing a deficit with the old levy, so a new levy is needed. We have already taken action as a board because of the increased valuation, and we made a motion at our last meeting to, if all works out the way that the County Budget Commission has said, we will immediately decline or terminate the levy, the half-mil levy that was that will expire in 2 years.
All right. Next question. Can you explain why there are 2 fire and EMS levies instead of just 1? For example, are there any differences between them with respect to what they are intended to pay for?
So that's a problem that we've had, which is why we are looking at going to continuing levies. When I was fiscal officer, we put several levies, with the help of the trustees, because they had to pass it, we put several levies in, changed them from 5-year terms to continuing levies. And we are trying to do the same because we have, I think, 8 levies. So we're going to have more, we have more next year that are going up. And changing them to continuing will take them off the voting. And the problem is the funding never changes. So when a levy is passed, which is why they say no, this is no tax increase. When a levy is passed, that levy is, the date it is passed, it is taxed at that level to the residents in perpetuity. So there are, the state has put in what is called reduction factors. So there's no increase or inflation on a levy. So the biggest example that I can tell you is in our police department, we have a 1980 levy that collects about $325,000, $30,000. If that was valued in today's dollars, it would collect about 1.1 million.
Okay. Thank you for explaining that, and thank you for responding to our questions.
Well, thank you.
All right, for our final race of the evening, We'll be considering the candidates for the West Geauga Local Board of Education. There are 3 open positions, and the candidates are Benito Alvarez, William Beers, Pamela Claypool, Aaron Fleisch, Mark Hederstrom, Ben Katowski, Kathy Leavenworth, and Kate Mitchell. All right, we'll begin with you, Dr. Alvarez. You may come up and give us your 3-minute presentation.
Thank you so much, Ms. May. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, and also thank you to West G and all of you for enduring this event tonight. And we're gonna take it over, right? So a little bit about myself. So I was born and raised in New York. My parents were Cuban refugees. They came as a result of Castro's tyranny over Cuba. After medical school, I came here to Ohio. That was in year 2000. And I've been in Cheshire now for 18 years. And being in here tonight reminds me my daughter was in the West G Middle School, and my son actually graduated from the high school, and they're both now doing very well. My son's about to finish, and my daughter's becoming a vet. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, so a little bit about my professional background. So I'm a gynecologist. I was at the Cleveland Clinic for forever, it seems, until I took a job in the state of Connecticut for Optum, which is one of the largest healthcare companies in the world. But I was there running their state operations, and which was very exciting, very good. I did that for 4 years, and now I think I'm retired, but I'm not too sure about that because I've been working all of my life, and you're working all your life, you kind of want to get back to doing things. Let's see what else. I went to the Air Force after September 11th. I just felt it was my duty to be a doc, so I joined as a flight surgeon, and I did some pretty interesting intelligence work with them to help them out. And currently I'm also involved in getting a CERT training. That's a community emergency response team training for the locality, and that's also very exciting. I think that I can offer a lot to this position because I do have a significant business background. That's what I was doing pretty much actually for the last few years in the clinic as well as in Connecticut. And I've been on multiple boards and served on multiple boards. And the reality is the boards that do a good job, they are very active and they oversee the management. Let's see, I've got a little bit of time left. Other things, you know, I do believe in the mission of the board, which is to provide the best educational opportunities for our children. I believe that should be done in a safe environment, obviously, and also that, you know, we stick with the academics, and that we also respect the parents' role in inculcating values. That should stick and be preeminent, really, and occur in the home, in my opinion. And I also believe we should also focus and emphasize during the curriculum the foundational documents of this country, as well as the history of this country, and let people understand that, you know, what their rights are, what their liberties are, and that we continue to move in the ideals of the Declaration of Independence. And I at the end. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Mrs. Claypool, you may give your 3-minute presentation.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. In case you missed it, I'm Pam Claypool. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this forum. A little bit about me. My husband and I have lived in Geauga County now for almost 18 years. We have 5 children, all happy and successful and have families of their own, so we have 10 grandchildren. I graduated from the University of Wisconsin with a BS in finance, and I have my MBA from Kent State. I recently retired after a 40-year career in business, and I've held executive level positions like I was VP of Finance, CFO, Executive Vice President of HR, and most recently President of the largest division of Airgas. A lot of experience with establishing policies, developing vision and long-term goals, developing budgets, managing operating expenses in excess of $500 million, succession planning, and capital management. I tell you this because these are skills and experience that are transferable to a board. I have been involved in advisory boards. I was very involved with the Air Gas Board, and I'm running for school board because education is foundational for all of us, and I'm really, really passionate about it. Since retiring, I now have more time, and I'm seeking this position to fulfill a long-term goal I've had of giving back to my community in some capacity. I've been doing volunteer work with Junior Achievement and Liberty Camp, also on the advisory board for Next Step right now. My support in education led me to this path. Whether you have children in school or not, we all benefit from well-educated children as well as good schools. As a school board member, I would support a focus on academics that includes a fact-based, age-appropriate curriculum. I believe the curriculum should be readily accessible to everybody in the community to review and understand. Our schools should focus on teaching kids how to think, not what to think. Our schools' facilities need to be safe. Approaching safety in a proactive rather than reactive way is critical. All our schools need to be adequately equipped, we know that, to facilitate and support learning. We need appropriate and modern technology. School finances should focus on the needs of the teachers and the students, but we also need to protect the interests of the citizens. I support parental rights. Strong academic performance is also the result of involved and engaged parents. Teachers overwhelmingly agree with that. I've always been a very transparent leader, and I would continue with that approach as a board member. I really humbly ask for your vote on November 7th, or before if you vote early. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Claypool. Mr. Flesh, you may give your 3-minute presentation.
Good evening, and thank you to League of Women Voters and to the West Geauga School District for hosting this event. My name is Aaron Fleisch, and I'm running for school board this fall. I am a parent of 3 young children in the district, 1 at Lindsay Elementary and 2 at Westwood, and want to take an active role in not only their education, but the education of our community. With having those 3 kids, it's important to me not only to have great education and strive for great testing, but also to build the foundational skills that all the children need to continue to thrive and grow in the community. A lot has happened to the youth with the past pandemics that we've all been through, and there are greater challenges now that as a parent of young children that I can understand and relate to and help push the school in the direction that's needed to support our kids and our youth. I have a focus on being transparent with not only the parents of the community and community members that I meet at all the sporting events and throughout town, but also with the school board and school administration to work with them on those skills to make sure that not only the parents, but the community understand what they're striving to do. I'd like to help build a better culture, supporting the teachers with more support staff for the students in the younger buildings, to really ensure that their needs are being met and that we're not just teaching them to take a test. It's important that we value their personal skills and social skills just as well as their academic skills. While it's great that we were awarded the National Blue Ribbon Award with the federal school system, it's not what we need to be teaching the kids. We need to teach them personal skills as well. And I hope to work with the school administration on that and support them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fleisch. Mr. Heatherstrom.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the league having this event. Good evening. My name is Mark Hedstrom. I'm running for the West Geauga School Board. I'm part of the legacy of this entire school district here. First, my great uncle was the first president of the West Geauga School Board when Russell and Chesterland actually combined to create West Geauga. Both of my parents and one of my aunts graduated from West Geauga High School. And that aunt was actually taught at West G. My dad married my mom, joined the Navy as an aviator, so we moved around quite a lot. I grew up all over the United States, but that gave me the opportunity to see different ways of learning and what worked and didn't work in those communities, at least definitely as a student. I then joined the Marine Corps, spent 12 years in those ranks. Since getting out, I've been within the highest levels of government contracting, which included, of course, cost reduction, proposal evaluations, and now I'm currently a project manager at a large company here in Northeastern Iowa. My wife and I, she's had to put up with me for the last 22 years. We have 4 kids, and one has actually graduated. He himself joined the Marines. The remaining 3 are still in the district. So that's a little bit about where I come from and where I am now. On the school board and why I'm running, I feel the district is doing well. Lindsay just got the blue ribbon that Aaron was talking about. But I do see a lack of action on a few different key aspects. One, being the communication board, we always talk about transparency. It's like down. The other thing is the busing. The busing is going to be one of the biggest issues that we see. We saw this coming from the grade leveling, and of course, Newberry joined the district on top of that, created more of that. The school buildings are aging, and that needs to be addressed. I have conversation with potential constituents supporting the new high school and how to get those questions answered that they have. There are reasons for all the decisions that boards are making, but there's a communication opportunity that's being lost there. So I'm running for the school board because I believe in communication and having members of the board being approachable. If there's a question, I'll tell you the answer. I cannot and will not speak for the entire board or the bylaws, but you'll know where I stand and why I stand.
All right, Mr. Potowski.
Thank you, and I'd like to particularly take this opportunity to thank the League of Women Voters. A few years ago, actually it was 8 years ago, I was campaigning, knocking on doors, and I happened to that day knock on the doors of what happened to be the 2 women who were running the entire League of Women Voters. They put on these events. They did that with just 2 people. It was an incredible, incredible amount of dedication, and now a group of new, younger, very dedicated people have taken over. And this is the kind of thing that makes our community what it is. And we're really grateful to them. And also for all the candidates. You know, a viable community has people who are interested in the community, who are interested in what's happening to their institutions, in this case, the schools. Now, I'm running for re-election. I'm running for re-election with some very good people. We realized that we were all going to campaign on the same thing, because we have seen real strides, real accomplishments on the part of our students, their parents, our teachers, our staff. Our schools are changing their DNA. And who's doing that? Well, in part it's the board. But you have to remember the board is only part of the equation. It takes a lot of really dedicated people to do these things, just like for the board to do what they do, just like the League of Women Voters, just like any institution. It's a lot of dedicated people. 2 of the people I'm running with, I'm really privileged to run with them. There's Bill Beers, who couldn't be here tonight. He's traveling on business. And Bill Beers is a guy who's basically a farm boy from South Dakota. His family had a farm. He still owns the farm. And his story is really interesting. When he was going to a one-room schoolhouse, a teacher discovered that he was a gifted person. He's really a bright guy. That teacher taught him calculus. He didn't know he learned calculus until he went to college. And he said, oh, I know how to do these things. And people around him were scratching their heads. Well, Bill has been very dedicated, and he's a very thrifty Midwesterner, and he's a real asset to the board. So I'm proud to be running with Bill. I'm also proud to be running with Kathy Leavenworth. Kathy can tell you about herself But what she probably won't say is something she said to me once. She sees her full-time job, her avocation as community service, and her background shows it, and the accomplishments that she has show it. For instance, in terms of education, she was one of the founders of the West Geauga Educational Foundation, which funds innovative projects that would normally not be funded by a Board of Education. Teachers can apply for that, and then they get funding to do something with their class, and hopefully they've discovered new ways of reaching students. Now, a couple of things that we have that we think that we've accomplished on the board. One is we have record academic achievement. So what does it mean? Does it mean we're teaching to the test, that there are 10 questions on the test and we make sure the kids know the answer to every one? You know that's not the way tests work. Tests work, am I at the end? Okay.
All right, Kathy Leavenworth, you may come forward and give your 3 minutes.
Oh my goodness, thank you to Ben. Appreciate that. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and to our school system. I have a long history of community involvement, as Ben just said, and as a school board member. In addition to serving West Geauga local schools as a board member, I was president of the Northeast region of the Ohio School Boards Association, and I was president of the Ohio School Boards Association, an organization that represents over 600 districts throughout Ohio. In this capacity, I not only gained insight and significant knowledge about all things related to public education, including, among others, policy, finance, legal responsibilities, facilities, but I was able to visit numerous districts throughout the state and share ideas, successes, and mistakes with other board members, administrators, and staff. I also served 2 years on the State Board of Education. Throughout all, I have been so privileged to serve as a representative of West Geauga. We have always been a leader, and as shown by our state ranking of 10th out of over 600 districts in Ohio for 2 years in a row, we continue that leadership and excellence role. From a financial standpoint, our school taxes have not been increased since the 2006 collection. As a matter of fact, with the territory transfer of Newbury to West Geauga taxes were reduced by almost 2 mills, and Newbury taxes were lowered close to 14 mills. Our tax rate was much lower than Newbury's, which allowed us to achieve this reduction. We have constantly remained fiscally responsible to our community and continue to listen and communicate with our parent and community members. During the pandemic, we were one of the systems in the state that remained open and in-person teaching. 75 to 80% of our students chose to attend in person. We invested in specialized cleaning equipment, additional custodians, and methods, as well as social distancing to achieve this. We prioritize and focus on helping each individual student to achieve to their highest potential. One of our primary strengths as a system is that we realize that there is always room for improvement, and we continue to strive for excellence for all of our students and our community. I'm proud to have played a part in this process and would very much appreciate being able to continue in this position. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for your thoughtful remarks. We have a nice stack of questions for you. So I'm going to get started. If I should skip over anyone inadvertently, please let me know. I'm going to start with Dr. Alvarez first for the first question. The next question I'll start with Mrs. Claypool, and so on. So keep me on my toes. First question, again beginning with Dr. Alvarez. What issues related to student safety, other than gun safety, are you concerned about?
I think we have to make sure that whatever policies we do have in place now are the best that are available. And you can do that by also looking at other places that have had successful security policies in place that have actually thwarted attacks on the kids. And that's just one aspect of the physical barriers that you can put in place, and protocols and processes. The other thing also would be in terms of who is providing the security. I think that's also important, and doing good background checks, good supervision. I think that's always important when you're mixing people together and people that are in charge or over the protection of our children. And that's what I'll say.
Mrs. Claypool, what issues related to student safety, other than gun safety, are you concerned about?
I think that, can you hear me? That, for one thing, I think that safety, I've went to a few board meetings, I've listened to board meetings, and I know by their own admission, there's been issues with doors not shutting properly, in the correct doors. So I think that an overall review of the school needs to be done in terms of, and a proactive approach to looking at what would keep our children safe. We've had a recent situation, and I think Ben sort of alluded to it, with regard to having, can you hear?
Having trouble hearing.
That's good. Okay. With regard to having, the unfortunate incident with the young woman, and I think that vetting people that are going to be dealing with our children is very important, and not relying on another organization to do that necessarily. It's the buck stops with the school and the board. I think busing and transportation is an issue, and I think that that's a safety issue as well. I know for a fact that there are buses out there that are going too fast. Okay, that's a fact.
Thank you, Mrs. Claypool. All right.
Sorry, I wasn't even watching.
That's okay. Mr. Flesch, what issues related to student safety, other than gun safety, are you concerned about?
Other than gun safety, I think the biggest concerns are, to Dr. Alvarez's point, vetting out the people that are with our students and making sure that their background checks are completely vetted, and that we as the administration and the school board would feel confident and safe with them, being around the children. Additionally, I think more qualified staff can be certified in that aspect as well, along with just overall building safety. There's more cameras and things to monitor, which is great to have those sort of things, but having people that are qualified to handle those situations and be a support system for the students and the staff are what are needed in the buildings.
Thank you. Mr. Hederstrom, what issues related to student safety, other than gun safety, are you concerned about?
I'm concerned about all other aspects of the physical safety of the kids, whether it be, of course, the unfortunate incident with some staff, but the doors, the mats that got pulled up out of the wrestling room that had asbestos and mold, getting that cleaned up in a more timely manner. Doing things that actually look out for the safety of the kids, just day to day within their school days. I think is definitely one of the highest priorities. And going back to Leslie, I agree with you, Pam, that can be a safety issue as well, as far as transporting our children, making sure that they get to and from games and school safely.
Thank you. Mr. Katowski, what issues related to student safety, other than gun safety, are you concerned about?
One of the most,
You should have a blue light on it. If it's on, you should have a blue light, and you may need to pull it forward so that you're in close proximity to it.
No, it's not on.
Oh, I'll just, yeah.
Okay, it's on now.
Yes.
So I think that one of the major issues in school, for anybody who's ever been in school, for anybody who ever remembers, is bullying. And bullying can impact a kid's self-esteem. Bullying can impact a kid's sense of safety, a kid's learning. Well, we've implemented a number of programs in the schools, zero tolerance to bullying. And it's been pretty successful, but it's a job that's never done. And what has to be done is the staff, the teachers, the administration have to constantly, with every new group of kids, create that as as just the way our schools operate, that we don't tolerate that. That's one thing. The other thing is, we have brought in now school resource officers to every single school, because while you do have the possibility of some kind of violence, you also have regular problems with a non-custodial parent trying to pick up a child and so on, and those things help to improve a child's experience.
Thank you. Mrs. Leavenworth, what issues related to what issues related to student safety, other than gun safety, are you concerned about?
Well, I think Ben just mentioned what I was mentioning too, that we have had a resource officer for the schools in the past. But this year, just recently, we have added 3 more. So we have a resource officer in each of our buildings. And that's not just for gun safety. That is because having those people present helps these kids to feel that they are more well taken care of. They get to know the police officers, they know them as friends, they I think have a much better sense of not only what it takes to be a part of a community, but how those people can help them. I think safety in all issues, as far as on the playing field, we have people available to help with any injuries that might relate to a sports injury. So I think mainly it's the day-to-day. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. All right, Ms. Clickwell, I'll start with you this time. And this question was asked by the audience, an audience member, and it's regarding book banning. Banning books has become an important issue. Do you think certain books should be removed from school libraries and school curriculum?
Well, I absolutely think there's some books that are probably inappropriate for certain ages. I wouldn't call that book banning. We're not going to go out and burn books. The book can still exist, but it should be given to children when it's appropriate. And not sure where that comes from, because I would never be an advocate for book banning. I love books. I don't even like to ever get rid of a book. But there is age appropriate stuff that can be shared with kids.
Mr. Fleisch, banning books has become an important issue. Do you think certain books should be removed from school libraries and school curriculum?
Yes, I think, there are certain books, to Ms. Claypool's point, that are not age appropriate to be in our schools, and so I would not want those books in our schools. But agree that we're not going to ban books or burn them or completely get rid of them, but there are certain age appropriate things that need to be in each of the buildings, and that's what I would want in those buildings.
Mr. Hatterstrom, do you think certain books should be removed from school libraries and school curriculum?
Well, without reviewing all the titles or subject matter, you have to do it one by one, much like one of the previous answers is we're not burning all the books, we're not banning all the books. Banning is a misnomer. I would have a much more thorough review of the ones that we are looking at, because in recent years, I've had one child that was assigned a book to read. And it was about the Holocaust, which is now not allowed to be read. So where is that tipping point? That's something that we would have to take a look at.
All right. Mr. Kotowski, banning books has become an important issue. Do you think certain books should be removed from school libraries and school curriculum?
Well, we have people who are professionals, who are educated in the field, who know what books are appropriate for each level. However, some parents disagree, and those parents have always had the right to keep their kids from reading those books, to find substitute books that are equally appropriate and that are working with some of the same themes that they in fact disagree with. And we've always had that in place. The issue comes, should a parent ban other children that are not their own children from reading certain books? Well, I think it's an individual parent's responsibility to see what their children are reading, to know what their children are reading, and to make sure that it comports with their values. And that's how West Geauga handles it.
Thank you. Ms. Leavenworth, banning books has become an important issue. Do you think certain books should be removed from school libraries and school curriculum?
We employ educational professionals who serve to look at all of the books that are put forward through the curriculum, and that the books are appropriate at the appropriate level and for the curriculum that is being taught, which in many cases is mandated by the state. In most cases, it's mandated by the state. I don't believe in generally banning books. I think that there are certain books that are not age appropriate. I can remember back when who was it? It's not me, Margaret, or what was her name? She wrote all children's. No. She wrote all children's books. And then she came out with a book that was for adults. And I just was incensed about that because my kids were reading these books that were age appropriate for them. And then she came out with this book and I thought, good, they can read that while it wasn't appropriate. So I think we need to be careful along all those lines. Thank you.
Dr. Alvarez, banning books has become an important issue. Do you think certain books should be removed from school libraries and school curriculum?
I concur with most of my colleagues. No banning, no party. Kids are kids, make it appropriate. If the parents feel strongly, well, they can read it at home with them.
All right, thank you. We will start with the third question with you, Mr. Fleisch. And this one is another audience-provided question. What do you plan on doing with the former Newberry Schools property?
Well, with the property, there are only certain things. I mean, the current school board looked to sell that property. So if it was up to me, what I would do with it is I would look to continue to have that as a community space for the entire community to use, and to take what's there in terms of sporting fields and other buildings and things of that nature that we could repurpose for the community to use. That would be under the involvement of the school board.
Mr. Hutterstrom, what do you plan on doing with the former Newberry Schools property?
Well, just like Aaron's answer, it would definitely be up to the community. Though that is a community resource with the school board. There's sporting fields that we need. There was talk about the Performing Arts Center and different ideas that the board would have when surveying that area in Newberry Township. I think it goes right back to the community, and I think that's a question that has to be put out there. We'll keep going down that road that the current board has, and to say what the ultimate goal is.
All right. Mr. Katowski, what do you plan on doing with the former Newberry Schools property?
Well, what we're doing with it right now is it's leased to Newberry Township and it's being used as part of Oberlin Park. It has fields on it. We didn't tear down the stadium, so that's available for people to use. It's a public park, so anyone can use it, even though it's a Newberry Township park. Newberry's also using half of the garage there, and we're using half of it because, we had, I think, 6 bays, and it was split right down the middle, and Newberry needed the space, and we were able to use some of the space, so it worked well for us. Also, we have the right to use some of the park for our athletics, whatever kind of school athletics we choose to use it from, and we'll pay Newberry a pro ratio of the maintenance costs of that park. So they get reimbursed for their cost, and our students and our athletes get to use that. So in the future, we'll have to see, but right now it's leased to Newberry.
Ms. Leavenworth, what do you plan on doing with the former Newberry Schools property?
As Dennis said, we continue to work with the Newberry trustees for the use of that property. We are trying to continue our good relationship with them in finding out what the needs of their community, which is now our community. We're all part of the same community. It doesn't look like our student enrollment is going to increase over the next 10 years. So we can see that we would need it for a building, but I think for athletic facilities, for nature facilities, it could be an environmental workshop. There's some open wetlands there, and as Ben said, the Oakland Park is right next door. There are lots of, I think currently, the current board is planning on retaining the property, but should we decide not to, we work with the Newbury trustees to find the best use for the property.
Thank you. Dr. Alvarez, what do you plan on doing with the former Newberry Schools property?
So personally, I don't plan on doing anything with it. However, I think anything that will be done with it requires significant engagement and discussion with the people that live there.
Mrs. Claypool, what do you plan on doing with the former Newberry Schools property?
Similar answer, in terms of, it sounds like we already have a plan, and as long as we're working with the trustees from Newberry, but again, I also would be very interested in the Newberry, what the Newberry residents have to say about this property. As Mrs. Leavenworth said, we're not growing, so we're not gonna need it for schools. So I'm sure Newberry has some ideas on how they'd like to use it beyond just as a park right now.
Thank you. Mr. Hederstrom, how do you feel parents' concerns regarding curriculum should be addressed by the board?
I think concerns about the curriculum from the parents, that can be addressed in a few different ways.
Could I ask you to try and pull your microphone a little closer? I'm having trouble hearing it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely would want to balance it against the mandate that, people have been talking about from the state. You have to understand what is needed, what you can get out when it comes to, certain learning materials, when we start talking about books before, and everything else. We have media specialists, we have those specialists on the staff that can look at different alternatives, like Ben was talking about, looking at different ways to learn. I think as long as it's open and honest communication and good conversation, I think it's all worthwhile.
Great, thank you. Mr. Katowski, how do you feel parents' concerns regarding curriculum should be addressed by the board?
Well, I would like to hear more from parents, and every one of the board members has on the website their numbers, and most of those numbers are their personal numbers. My personal cell phone is there. If anyone has a concern, they can just get on the website, just give me a call. The other aspect is we have Nancy Benacasa, who's our Assistant Superintendent Director of Curriculum, and actually Dr. Nancy Benacasa, because she recently completed her doctorate in education. And Nancy's very knowledgeable and responsible for that, and anyone can call her and talk to her about their concerns. She's a person who's very interested in, not simply defending what she's doing, but making what she's doing better and responding to people. So there are people at the Board of Education you can call any of the board members.
Ms. Leavenworth, how do you feel parents' concerns regarding curriculum should be addressed by the board?
I think that depends on what the question is. There are a lot of different questions that could be brought forward concerning curriculum. Much of the curriculum is mandated by the state. That doesn't stop us from wanting to hear what the concerns are that parents have regarding curriculum and how it is impacting their student. I know I've had over the years questions from parents that they should be addressing a teacher first and an administrator then, because in the great scheme of things, the board is the final arbiter in so many of those decisions. So we need to be careful that we don't step in into something that should be handled through the teacher and administrators. And as Ben has said, we have a wonderful administration, people who are very good at working with the students. Not that we don't want to hear, but it depends on what the question is.
Dr. Alvarez, how do you feel parents' concerns regarding curriculum should be addressed by the board?
I think they should be listened to respectfully. And I think there's a process for escalating concerns which needs to be followed. But in the end, there has to be a discussion, there has to be dialogue, and there has to be engagement from the parents, and also co-engagement on the part of the board.
Great. Mrs. Claypool, how do you feel parents' concerns regarding curriculum should be addressed by board?
First of all, I think that whatever the questions are, they should be taken serious. I think that they should be discussed. I think that they should get a response. I know that there has been curriculum that has found its way into the classroom that was not appropriate, and once found by a parent, was removed immediately. And I think that that's a concern. And I think parents have a legitimate concern when that happens. It needs to be addressed. And what I've seen is when a parent makes a request in public or voices a concern in public, I believe they deserve a public response. If not right then, later. But to be respectful of the parents, I think, is very important.
All right, Mr. Fleisch, how do you feel parents' concerns regarding curriculum should be addressed by the board?
I think the board needs to know their concerns have been heard and open up that dialogue with them, but to other people's points up here, there are proper channels to go through with the teachers and the administration of those buildings, and then escalating it up as needed to understand what those concerns are, so that the parents can understand that their concerns, one, have been heard, and that we can address them as a group and have open dialogue about them.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Katowski, I'll begin with you for the next question. How would you change the board's current public comment policy, if at all, to ensure parents' questions or concerns are addressed by the board in a timely manner?
Oh, that's a tough one. And the reason it's tough is because at one point, we tried having a more interactive approach, and it became very argumentative very quickly. It became kind of unruly. So the board has a policy that we listen but don't comment on people's public comments. And then if there is something that has to be gotten back to them, the administration does that. There's always room for improvement, and I hope somebody comes to the next board meeting with some suggestions, and I'll listen.
Ms. Leavenworth, how would you change the board's current public comment policy, if at all, to ensure parents' questions or concerns are addressed by the board in a timely manner?
I don't feel that, from my experience, the parents' questions are not answered in a timely manner. As Ben just said, our policy is to listen attentively and with respect to people who come and speak to us at the hearing of the public. And we either respond to them individually or we get back to them at a subsequent meeting. I think that the policy we have now is a good one, because you don't know what the questions are going to be, and if you are open to anybody addressing a question at any time, and that becomes the way that you deal with it, then you are open to any question that can be brought forward, and you have to respond. You set a precedent. So I think our present precedent is the correct one.
Dr. Alvarez, how would you change the board's current public comment policy, if at all, to ensure parents' questions or concerns are addressed by the board in a timely manner?
So personally, I like dialogue. I mean, I've been in many positions where I'm responsible for things, and I have to answer the question when my hand goes up and somebody asks from the audience. And if I know the answer, I'll answer it. And if I don't, because I need more information on that particular subject, then I just don't. But I tell them by when I'll get back to them, so that they know that it's forthcoming. In a public forum, and that should be something that is acceptable, in my opinion.
Mrs. Claypool, how would you change the board's current public comment policy, if at all, to ensure parents' questions or concerns are addressed by the board in a timely manner?
Well, I do think that parents' questions need to be addressed. I don't think that a response necessarily means an answer. A response can be simply an acknowledgement that you recognize that there's a concern. And then you get back to the parent. And if the question was made in public, if the concern was made in public, then the answer should be made in public. Because there are other people attending the meeting who might have the same question or the same concern, or who aren't aware of that issue, and now they should get the answer as well. I think that if the board isn't necessarily going to have the answer in the first place, but I think a simple acknowledgement and thank you for the question or the concern, and then telling them, we will get back to you, we will have the appropriate person with that answer respond to you. You could even have them come to the board meeting and respond in public.
Mr. Fleisch, how would you change the board's current public comment policy, if at all, to ensure parents' questions or concerns are addressed by the board in a timely manner?
Yeah, I think, to have an efficient board meeting, I think, like we've all kind of set up here, that to hear that first concern but to acknowledge that you've heard them, right? Not everyone's gonna have the answer right then and there, because a lot of times the questions from the parents, the board may not be fully aware of or have the answers in front of them. But I would like to look to change the policy and how the board would be able to respond to those parents. If the opportunity arose where there could be answered at the end of the meeting, I think that's a relevant time to do so. Because what tends to happen is you have a parent can ask a question at this meeting, the administration responds the following meeting in 2 weeks, but that's after the public comments for the second time. So if the parent wanted to comment again, now we're 3 weeks out, right? So we have one question that may not have been resolved that could be expanding over a 6-week period. So I would think there could be some more timely communication and getting those facts and everyone on the same page.
Thank you. Mr. Hatterstrom, how would you change the board's current public comment policy, if at all, to ensure parents' questions or concerns are addressed by the board in a timely manner?
Well, the first thing I would do is get a definition around the term timely. But I don't think I would change much about the public comment policy. There's an agenda that's put out. Everybody knows what's going to be talked about. I do believe that there should be an acknowledgement and understanding that we'll get you the answer. There should be that timely timetable that's there. But then have those answers, good, bad, or indifferent. Having those questions answered, but the biggest question that a lot of parents and the community have is why. So it's not always just a what or where, but the why behind those decisions. And I think that is a key point to any of those comments at the beginning of a meeting.
Thank you. Ms. Leavenworth, I'll begin with you for the next question. As a school board member, would you advocate for a change in policy on social and emotional learning?
We are, again, mandated by the state to follow the I'm not sure it's in the code of regulations, but not with social. There are certain regulations, certain things that the state puts forward, but I would not.
Dr. Alvarez, as a school board member, would you advocate for a change in policy on social and emotional learning?
I would have no issue with the kids learning about emotional intelligence. I've been through up-teen classes. Every team that I've ever led I've made and go through it. And there's been no inculcation of other people's values and no political agendas and no trying to socially advocate for the correction of innumerable cosmic challenges, let's just say. But I would, it's emotional intelligence training in and of itself, I would support that.
Mrs. Claypool, as a school board member, would you advocate for a change in policy on social and emotional learning?
I agree. I mean, I think the emotional well-being of our children is very important. It's hard to sometimes separate. Academically, it's important that they're taught well, but they also need to have strong emotional well-being. As long as that SEL does not venture into ideology and teaching other people's values, I'm supportive, but I don't know enough about what the curriculum is right now that we have to answer that fully. I would want to know really what we're teaching. I know that there's a lot of surveys. I'm not much of a fan of those because often that is where they have some of the questions. Sometimes the curriculum is one thing, but then the teaching notes are something else. And I think that those are the things that we would want to watch very carefully.
Thank you, Mr. Fleisch. As a school board member, would you advocate for a change in policy on social and emotional learning?
I think as I said earlier, the emotional well-being of our students is something that we need to pay more attention to, especially in this day and age with social media and the access to technology in kids' hands and in front of them all the time. So there's definitely a piece of their emotional well-being along with their social and emotional skills, just as peer-to-peer, student-to-student, that we need to be teaching them to be just better people and how to deal with things on a personal level.
Mr. Hedestrom, as a school board member, would you advocate for a change in policy on social and emotional learning?
In a word, no. I believe in raising empathetic and sympathetic people and understanding that, one of the safety things that was brought up was bullying. When you have those devices and technology and getting away from, that person-to-person interaction, you start losing that. Being a parent of 4 kids, a lot of them being teenagers, you have a lot of that insight. And I think having those lessons, and of course corporately, just like Dr. Ben, I mean, I've been through emotional intelligence classes and training all over the place. I think it is important to understand and impart that wisdom upon the kids. It just makes for a better, safer place.
Thank you. Mr. Katowski, as a school board member, would you advocate for a change in policy on social and emotional learning?
I've never heard of us having a policy on social and emotional learning. It's one of those buzzwords that gets people upset because they're worried that the children are going to be inculcated with someone else's values, that their children are going to be indoctrinated. Well, we're a public school. We have people who come from a lot of different places, and we have to respect where those people come from, where those families are. And that's the kind of social emotional learning people are afraid of. The kind of social emotional learning that a child gets is when they come to kindergarten, they learn how to stand in a line. They learn how to not take something that belongs to another child. They learn when they're passing out scissors to give themselves scissors last. And that continues through life. There's an old saying, everything I needed to know I learned in kindergarten.
Thank you. Dr. Alvarez, if you do not have children or grandchildren in the school district, why do you feel that you are connected enough to the schools to adequately and competently serve the families that do?
So I will have a granddaughter next year. In the school system, and I actually think it's a great school system. My kids did phenomenally in it, and they continue to do well in their lives. So I have grandkids that are up and coming. I have procreated. There you go.
Mrs. Claypool, if you do not have children or grandchildren in the school district, why do you feel that you are connected enough to the schools to adequately and competently serve the families that do?
Because if I was on the board, I would make sure that I did stay connected to the families and the parents in the school system. In addition to that, the school system isn't just for the parents and the students, it's for the whole community. We all benefit as a community from good schools and good education. That's foundational. So I do have a vested interest. I always have had a vested interest in the education of all children. So again, it's a communication, it's staying in touch, it's listening, and communicating with the public.
All right, Mr. Fleisch, you do have children in the district.
Yes.
So would you like to respond to this question regarding, I mean, the question is addressed to those who do not have children or grandchildren in the district, but, you know, the flip of that is, if you do have children in the district, do you feel that makes you uniquely connected to those who do?
I think you need a combination of it on the school board. I don't think 5 board members with all children in the district, you know, with young kids or high schoolers or nobody with kids in the district. I think there needs to be a balance of that because we can all bring unique ideas and mind frames from our work careers, our professional careers, and along with our personal careers to the board to meet in the middle of that, where meet with young children. You know, obviously my focus personally is on the elementary school system. Doesn't mean I don't care about the high school, right? Or the community. I care about all those things, but you know, just personally, that's where my 3 kids are. So I think having a combination of it is what the school board really needs.
All right. Mr. Hederston, you have children in the district, as I recall from your opening remarks. Do you feel that gives you a particular connection to families in the district?
Well, yes, I do. Much to Aaron's point, I do believe that there needs to be that balance. The good thing about that balance is you have, you know, the more experienced individuals coming with that life skill and that understanding, where people that have children in the school also have Girl Scout meetings, Boy Scout meetings, Lions football games. You know, I have kids in the high school and in the middle school. You know, Aaron has kids in elementary. I think having a blend of all of that is very, very important and needs to be highly celebrated, simply because if we are at those events and we get questions from the community, we can bring that to the board.
Thank you. Mr. Katowski, if you do not have children or grandchildren in the school district, why do you feel that you were connected enough to the schools to adequately and competently serve the families that do?
Well, as a person whose kids went through West G, I can tell you there's a bond that cannot be broken. When my daughter boarded that school bus to go to kindergarten, I jumped in the car, drove up to Westwood, and took a picture of her coming off the school bus. Still got that picture, and it still means a lot to me. Anyone who's had kids who've gone through the district will really have a very strong bond that stays with them. I've always felt that school board members should be called trustees, and trustees should be called board members, because what we do is we hold these schools in trust for future generations, for all the kids. We hold them in trust for the community because they're a community asset. They're something that we pass on between generations. And it's really a privilege to do this work.
Ms. Leavenworth, if you do not have children or grandchildren in the school district, why do you feel that you were connected enough to the schools to adequately and competently serve the families that do?
I think we all know some people who have students in the schools who are not engaged in their students' learning or in their students' participation in the schools at all. I don't think it makes a difference as to whether you have students in school. It's how engaged you are in the schools. And getting that, continue to serve on the West Geauga Educational Foundation. I have friends who have kids in the school system. I interact with them, find out from them. I'm in the schools. I'm working with the different school organizations. I don't think it matters about whether you have them. I mean, I agree with having a balance. I think it's good to have somebody on the board who has kids in the district. But I think that your commitment, anybody's commitment to the schools, depends on how much they engage themselves and how concerned they are.
All right. I want to thank you all. There were a lot of questions directed to you. And I want to thank our audience. It's been very informative evening. I appreciate your patience and your attention and your being here to support the League of Women Voters and to dedicate yourself to being an informed and educated voter. I believe our early voting, in-person early voting begins tomorrow at the Board of Elections in Chardon. So if you'd like to get up there and get on with it, I plan to go myself. So head on up and do that. Thanks again to the West G School and Middle School for having us here. And thank you to all of our candidates.